In a vast galaxy where many powerful species fight for control, the Galactic Council faces the threat of a massive war. The Council's president, Lamahar, is suddenly taken on a secret journey to Earth, a mysterious and dangerous planet known as a Death World. He learns that humans are called the Final Protocol, a last hope designed thousands of years ago to stop war and save the galaxy from destruction. But why Earth? Why humans? As Lamahar meets the calm and confident humans who have stayed hidden for millennia, he must confront a truth that will change everything he knows about power, peace, and survival. The story is full of tension, wonder, and hope, as ancient secrets unfold and the fate of millions hangs in the balance. President Lamahar stood silently before the viewport, watching the blue and white planet grow larger as their ship neared Earth. His heart raced with questions he could not answer. The glowing sphere filled the window, peaceful but deadly, a Category 15 death world by Galactic Council standards. It was a place no one wanted to go. And yet, here they were. Beside him, the living archive unit named Tavia remained still. Its form was unlike anything Lamahar had ever seen. A shifting mass of glowing optical fibers that moved like liquid light, forming a strange, clothless body. It was an artificial being created by long-lost architects whose knowledge had been lost to time. Tavia was not just a machine, it was the oldest living database in the galaxy. It was also the reason for Lamahar's sudden and mysterious journey. Tavia, Lamahar said at last, his voice heavy with frustration, you have brought me here. But why? What is this final protocol you keep referring to? Why Earth? Why now? The glowing strands of Tavia shifted in response, blinking in patterns Lamahar had learned to recognize as its way of speaking. The humans are the final protocol, it said in its neutral, emotionless voice. Protocol activation conditions have been met. Lamahar's ridges twitched. The Galactic Council had never told him about any such protocol. He was its president, yet he had been taken without warning, pulled away from urgent negotiations with warring factions on the brink of war. You kidnapped me, he said, voice rising. I demand answers. You were collected for protocol implementation, Tavia replied. Semantics. The ship's interior was cold and functional, 2 control stations facing the vast viewport. Lamahar paced slowly, trying to understand what he had been told. The Karathon Empire and the Void Hunters were moving toward war. The Council could not stop it. Tavia's calculations showed a 97.3% chance of full conflict within 10 cycles. And yet, this final protocol might prevent it. Lamahar's breath caught. You're saying this protocol can stop the war? Yes, Tavia said simply. Encoded at the Council's founding. For this scenario. The Council was over 3,000 cycles old. A secret plan, buried deep in the archives, meant to protect the galaxy if everything else failed. But who had created this plan? And why had no one told him? The ship entered Earth's orbit, and Lamahar watched as continents, oceans, and swirling clouds moved beneath them. The planet was beautiful. Deadly, yes. But beautiful. Tavia initiated communication protocols, and a crisp human voice answered. Unidentified vessel. State your purpose. Archive Unit Tavia, Designation Prime 01. Requesting permission to land. Authorization Code, Final Protocol Omega 7 Alpha. There was a long pause, and Lamahar held his breath. Authorization is very old, came the reply. Please stand by. Minutes passed. Then, you are cleared for approach to Spaceport 1. Welcome back. Lamahar's eyes widened. Welcome back, he repeated, confused. How long had it been since Tavia had been here? And why were humans expecting them? Their ship descended smoothly through the atmosphere, revealing a sprawling city of glass towers and flying vehicles moving in perfect order. The traffic was astonishing, thousands of crafts weaving through invisible lanes, moving like dancers in a complex ballet. Such precision was unheard of in even the most advanced core worlds. Earth has had longer to perfect its systems, Tavier said quietly. The ship landed on a remote part of the spaceport, older and quieter than the busy main docks. A small group of glowing units awaited them, artificial beings like Tavier, but newer and brighter. They moved with grace, their optical fibers creating shifting patterns more complex than Tavier's own. You are early iteration, version 1, series 1, the lead unit said to Tavier. You require escort to the designated meeting location. Lamahar followed, his pulse quickening. He was walking into the heart of a planet feared across the galaxy. Deathworlders lived here, beings who could survive harsh gravity, toxic air, and aggressive wildlife. Yet, they had achieved power and technology unmatched by most. The doors of the building they entered bore a simple symbol, a circle containing a stylized tree. Inside was a large elevator. Lamahar hesitated, sensing something strange. The garden level awaits, the escort said. The elevator dropped fast, hundreds of meters in seconds, plunging into the depths of the planet. Lamahar gripped the wall, feeling weight and pressure increase. Finally, the doors opened, revealing an underground garden that took his breath away. Light mimicked the sun above, trees reached high, leaves rustled gently in a warm breeze, and vibrant flowers bloomed in every color. Paths wound between sections of desert, rainforest, and other earth biomes, complete with streams and waterfalls. It was a hidden paradise beneath a death world. Ahead sat two humans, smaller than Lamahar expected, with no visible weapons or armor. They wore simple white robes, gentle smiles on their faces. One threw a small ball for a furry dog, the other stroked a sleeping pet. President Lamahar, the man said, rising to greet him. I'm Henry, and this is Ivy. We are humanity's representatives. Representatives? Lamahar echoed, surprised. You are elected? Seal, actually, Ivy said. A democratic election across the species. Lamahar blinked. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community. How had they existed this long, hidden and unknown? We were the first, Henry said calmly. We had faster-than-light travel for about 4,000 years. We helped build the Galactic Council. Then we stepped back. Why withdraw? Lamahar asked. Let others grow, Ivy replied. We stayed close enough to watch, but stayed out of the way. Until now. Lamahar pressed on, desperate for answers. This final protocol. What is it? A contingency plan, Henry explained. If the galaxy fell into war again. If the Deathworlder faction started a conflict that would destroy everything. And there was a first war. Lamahar asked. A long time ago, Ivy said softly. We do not dwell on it. Now we prevent another. Lamahar shook his head. You are one species. How can you stop war between thousands? Henry and Ivy exchanged a smile. We will tell our children to stop fighting, Henry said. Children? Lamahar's translator made sense of the word. Figuratively, Ivy said with a smile. All species came after us. We've watched them grow, stumble, and learn. Lamahar's mind spun. Two great factions stood ready to destroy each other. Humans, hidden on one planet, claimed they could stop it without violence. We are good at non-lethal pacification, Ivy added. Lots of practice. Lamahar was stunned. Why reveal yourselves now? We let the galaxy try, Henry said. But if it jumps off the edge, we step in. If they refuse to stop? Lamahar asked. Then they learn why Earth is a Category 15 death world, Henry said, voice firm. It's not gravity or wildlife. Lamahar looked at the garden again. These people spoke casually about preventing a war that could kill millions. And for the first time, he believed them. The underground garden faded behind Lamahar as he followed Henry, Ivy, and their glowing escorts back toward the surface. His mind was a storm of new facts and old beliefs, twisting and turning in confusion. The humans had been the first to master faster-than-light travel, helped build the Galactic Council, then quietly stepped away, watching, waiting, and now stepping back into the light as the galaxy's last hope. The simple white robes of Henry and Ivy made them seem more like peaceful scholars than leaders of a species that could stop a war between empires. Yet the weight of their words hung in the air. "We prepare for a family reunion," Henry said with a smile. "It's time humanity visits the galactic community again." Lamahar blinked. "Family reunion? You'll see," Ivy said. "All the pieces are in place." The elevator carried them up through kilometers of rock until they reached the city's surface. They walked out into the cool evening air, the sky glowing softly with the setting sun. Around them, the city pulsed with life, towering buildings with light sparkling like stars, vehicles flying between them in graceful arcs. "This city," Lamahar said, "is unlike any other I've seen. How do you maintain such order?" Henry chuckled. "Long practice. And a love for precision." Their path led to a sleek human ship docked in a large spaceport. The vessel was enormous, shaped like a small moon, yet elegant in design. Lamahar's eyes widened. This was no ordinary starship. "This is the vessel that will take us to the war's edge," Henry said. Lamahar stepped aboard. Inside, the ship felt more like a park than a warship. Grass grew in patches between consoles. Water gently flowed in a small fountain nearby. Children played quietly in the corners, and dogs ran in circles around the bridge. The atmosphere was calm and peaceful, a sharp contrast to the tense war preparations he had left behind. Captain Alex stood nearby, relaxed but focused. "Welcome aboard, President Lamahar. ETA to the border is 10 minutes. Lamahar tried to focus on the mission ahead. The Carathon Empire and the Void Hunters faced off in space, their massive fleets ready to destroy each other. Yet this ship, this crew, seemed ready to stop that without violence. "Are the inhibitor drones ready?" Henry asked. Captain Alex nodded. "Final checks done. They'll disable weapons and engines across both fleets." Lamahar frowned. "You're taking bets on how long it takes before they realize." Alex grinned. "Gotta keep things interesting." Lamahar's ridges twitched in disbelief. "This is not a game." Alex laughed. "Sometimes, a little humor helps." The ship shifted, moving smoothly into normal space. Ahead, the two massive fleets floated like metal mountains, weapons glowing red. Lamahar held his breath. Then, from the human vessel, a cloud of tiny drones emerged. They multiplied rapidly, filling space between the fleets in an expanding sphere. "What are those?" Lamahar asked. "Inhibitor drones," Henry said. "They disable weapon systems without damage." Lamahar watched the Carathon dreadnought's weapons power down, engines dimming. One by one, the fleets fell silent. 39 seconds for Carathon, 43 for Void Hunters. The bridge filled with chatter, confused demands and questions from both sides. Captain Alex ignored it all. "Ship mind," he said calmly. "Identify command vessels and bring them aboard." Massive tractor beams extended, pulling the Carathon and Void Hunter flagships toward the human ship like toys. Lamahar watched, amazed and fearful. The captured commanders, giant armored beings and shadowy figures, were escorted inside the human vessel. Their postures shifted as they saw their helpless fleets below through large windows. The massive warriors suddenly looked small, ashamed, like children caught in mischief. Henry smiled. "Shall we begin?" Inside the conference room, the two delegations sat on the floor, awkward and unwilling to meet. Ivy's calm voice filled the room. "Why did you think war was the answer?" The Carathon leader growled about territory lost to the Void Hunter centuries ago. The Void Hunter Alpha countered fiercely. Ivy cut in gently, this war will destroy millions over a dispute older than your great-grandparents. The commanders lowered their eyes. You could have tried diplomacy, Henry said. The council exists for this. But you chose violence. The council is weak, the Carathon commander muttered. It favors tribute. Henry nodded. It's what you make it, not magic. Ivy smiled. Children who solve problems with violence lose their toys. The commanders exchanged embarrassed looks. So, your fleets are grounded, Ivy said. For 1 century minimum. A century, they both exclaimed. Unless you want more timeouts, Henry warned. Lamahar watched the conversation with growing awe. These humans treated interstellar war like childish misbehavior. But what about defense? Whisper of Death asked. If we don't protect ourselves, others will attack. You won't be defenseless, Ivy assured. Earth will protect you. The commanders grumbled but accepted the new terms. Henry projected a holographic map of disputed border systems. You'll share these worlds, he said. Joint colonies, shared resources, equal representation. We won't, they argued. You will, Henry interrupted. Or Earth will protect them. The choice is yours. The two commanders shared the first friendly look Lamahar had seen. The meeting moved on to detailed agreements, borders, resource sharing, cultural exchanges, all enforced by the species that had just stopped 2 fleets without firing a shot. As the delegations returned to their powerless ships, Lamahar stayed with the humans and Tavier. That's it? He asked. You just grounded them. Exactly, Henry said. When children misbehave, you ground them. Lamahar shook his head, still struggling to accept what he had witnessed. What happens when they realize you can't be everywhere? Ivy smiled. Who says we're only on one world? Lamahar felt a chill. How many ships like this existed? How many human colonies were hidden across the galaxy? Tavier spoke for the first time in hours. We should recover our ship and return to the council station. Captain Alex approached. President Lamahar, a word of advice. The council exists because we believe species govern better together. That hasn't changed. Your role still matters. Lamahar nodded, feeling a strange peace. We're insurance, not the main event, Alex said. But maybe one day, the children will truly grow up. The journey back was quiet. Lamahar's thoughts drifted to the safety net humanity provided. For thousands of cycles, they let others lead. Now, when the worst came, they stepped in. He understood now. The final protocol was not just a backup plan. It was hope. The human ship moved swiftly through space, carrying President Lamahar and the humans deeper into the tense silence between the Carathon and Void Hunter fleets. Lamahar watched from the bridge, surrounded by the peaceful hum of the ship and the playful barking of dogs chasing children. The contrast was almost painful, the calm here felt so distant from the brewing storm waiting just outside. Captain Alex, relaxed but focused, monitored the situation. 10 minutes to the border, he said. Both fleets still holding their positions but on edge. Lamahar's eyes flicked to the tactical display. The Carathon dreadnoughts and Void Hunter ships loomed large, engines glowing red, weapons charged, ready to fire at the slightest provocation. The weight of a war that could consume entire star systems pressed down on him. Henry stood nearby, his expression calm. This is where most leaders would lose their nerve, he said quietly. But we're not most leaders. Lamahar's brow furrowed. You said you had methods to stop the war without bloodshed. I want to understand. Henry gestured toward the window. Watch. From the human ship, thousands of tiny drones swarmed outward in all directions. Lamahar leaned closer, mesmerized. The drones expanded rapidly, forming a glowing cloud that surrounded both fleets. Slowly, systems began to power down. Engines faltered, weapons locked, life support reduced. The great war machines became silent, helpless. The tension on the bridge eased a little as the fleet stood frozen. 39 seconds for Carathon, 43 for Void Hunters, Jenkins, a crew member, reported, grinning. Lamahar felt his heart slow. This was power unlike anything he had seen before. A power not based on destruction but on control and calm. Ship mind, Captain Alex said into the comms. Identify command vessels and bring them aboard. Massive tractor beams shot out, grabbing the flagships and pulling them like toys toward the human ship. Lamahar watched, amazed. The commanders of both fleets, towering figures of armor and shadow, were escorted into the human vessel. For the first time, Lamahar saw the immense weight of responsibility in their eyes, not pride or rage, but fear and shame. The two powerful enemies appeared small and vulnerable, like children caught breaking a rule. Henry smiled. Let's begin. In a vast conference room, the two delegations sat silently on the floor, careful to avoid looking at one another. Ivy's voice was soft but firm. Why did you think war was the answer? The Carathon commander snarled about lost territory, the Void Hunter Alpha countered fiercely with their own claims. But Ivy cut through the anger. This war will cost millions of lives over a dispute older than your great-grandparents. The commanders looked down, the weight of their anger fading. You could have tried diplomacy. The council exists for this. But you chose violence. The council is weak, the Carathon muttered bitterly. It's what you make of it, Henry replied. Not magic. Ivy's eyes shone with quiet strength. Children who solve problems with violence lose their toys. The commanders exchanged guilty looks. So your fleets are grounded, one said in disbelief. For a century, Ivy confirmed. What if we want to fight again? More timeouts, Henry warned. Lamahar shook his head in wonder. These humans treated war like a childish tantrum, something to be managed with firm but gentle discipline. But what about defense? Whisper of Death asked. If we don't protect ourselves, others will attack. You won't be defenseless, Ivy assured. Earth will protect you. The commanders grumbled but accepted the terms. Henry displayed a hologram of disputed border systems. You'll share these worlds. Joint colonies, shared resources, equal say. We won't, they protested. You will, Henry said firmly. Or Earth will protect them. The choice is yours. The two aliens shared the first friendly look Lamahar had seen between them. The meeting moved on to details, borders adjusted, resource agreements drafted, cultural exchanges planned, all enforced by the species who had stopped two fleets without firing a shot. As the delegations left, Lamahar stayed with Henry, Ivy, and Tavier. That's it? He asked. You just grounded them. That's what you do when children misbehave, Henry said. What if they realize you can't be everywhere? Ivy smiled. Who says we're only on one world? Lamahar felt a chill. How many ships like this existed? How many colonies were hidden? Tavier spoke. We should recover our ship and return to the council. Captain Alex added, the council exists because species govern better together. Your role still matters. Lamahar nodded, feeling peace for the first time in many cycles. We're insurance, not the main event, Alex said. But maybe one day, the children will grow up. The journey back was quiet. Lamahar's thoughts drifted to humanity's watchful presence, a safety net for the galaxy. He understood. The final protocol was not just a plan. It was hope. The journey back to the Galactic Council space station was quiet. Lamahar sat alone on the observation deck of the human ship, staring out at the stars. The vast galaxy stretched endlessly before him. Everything he thought he knew about power and peace had shifted in the last few days. He thought of the Carathon and Void Hunter commanders, once fierce enemies now forced to face each other not with weapons but with reason. They had been humbled, made to feel like children caught in a dangerous game. And the humans? They had stepped out of the shadows to remind the galaxy why the council was formed in the first place. Lamahar's thoughts were interrupted by Henry and Ivy entering the room. Their calm faces showed the weight of what was happening, but also a quiet hope. "We have a plan," Henry said. "Earth will announce itself again as a member of the galactic community. But differently this time. Not as rulers," Ivy added. "But as guardians. Watchers. The final line of defense." Lamahar nodded slowly. "You withdrew for thousands of cycles to let others grow. But now, when the galaxy threatens to tear itself apart, you return." Henry smiled softly. "We are not here to take control. We are here to keep balance. To remind others what peace means." Tavier, silent until now, moved near. Its glowing fibers shifted, casting light across the room. "The final protocol is more than a plan," it said. "It is a promise. A warning. A hope." Lamahar looked at the archive unit and then at the humans. "What happens if the factions reject you? If they choose war anyway?" Ivy met his gaze firmly. "Then they learn what it truly means to live on a death world. And that Earth is not to be tested." Lamahar shivered, imagining the power behind those words. The humans explained their strategy. They would send envoys to every major species, offering peace and protection under Earth's watchful eye. They would restore faith in the Council by enforcing agreements fairly and firmly. And they would do it without firing a single shot, if possible. Lamahar felt a strange mix of hope and fear. Hope that the war might be stopped. Fear of what would happen if it wasn't. In the following days, the ship made its way closer to the Council station. Lamahar prepared to return to his duties, armed with new knowledge and a renewed sense of purpose. He thought about the children playing on the bridge, the dogs chasing their tails, and the peaceful gardens under a death world's surface. He realized that humanity's power was not just technology or weapons. It was their calm, their patience, their ability to treat even mighty empires like children who needed guidance. For the first time in his long career, Lamahar felt truly humbled. The final protocol was not just a plan hidden in archives. It was the reason the galaxy could still hope for peace. As the ship docked at the Council station, Lamahar looked out once more at the stars. The galaxy was wide, full of conflict and wonder. But now, thanks to the humans, it had a guardian watching from the shadows. He took a deep breath. The future was uncertain. But it was no longer dark. The Council station loomed ahead, a shining beacon of diplomacy and power. President Lamahar's ship slipped smoothly into dock, the hum of activity outside the viewport a constant reminder of the galaxy's delicate balance. But Lamahar's thoughts were far from the usual Council politics. He carried with him the weight of new truths, truths that changed everything about the role of humanity and the fate of the galaxy. Inside the Council chambers, his peers awaited him. Advisors, diplomats, leaders from hundreds of species, all unaware of the hidden forces now at work behind the scenes. Lamahar stood before them, calm but firm. "I have returned from Earth," he began. "From the species labeled as the final protocol." Whispers spread through the room. The final protocol was a legend, a forgotten code in the oldest archives. Few had believed it real. "It is real," Lamahar said. "And humanity is unlike any other species we have known. They are the original founders of our council. They withdrew, watching from the shadows, allowing us to grow. But now, they have returned." He told them of the peaceful garden cities beneath Earth's surface, the enormous ships that looked like small moons, the gentle humans who stopped war fleets without violence. He spoke of the two great empires, the Karathon and Void Hunters, forced into a century-long peace by the firm hand of humanity. The room fell silent as he finished. "You may feel threatened," Lamahar said, "but know this, humanity is not here to dominate. They are here to protect. To guide. To remind us all that peace is possible. A delegate from the Karathon Empire rose, voice hesitant. President Lamahar, how can we trust a species that has hidden for so long, only to impose its will now? Lamahar met his gaze. Because they chose not to dominate but to protect. Because their power is not in weapons but in wisdom. The council debated late into the cycle. Fear and suspicion battled with hope and respect. But slowly, the message took root. Humanity was not an enemy. They were a guardian. Days later, Lamahar watched as Earth sent out envoys to every council world. Ships bearing peaceful offers, invitations to share knowledge, to build new alliances. He thought of the dogs playing on the bridge of the great human ship, the children laughing quietly in the gardens, the calm strength behind Henry and Ivy's smiles. The galaxy was changing. As he prepared to resume his duties, Lamahar felt a peace he had never known. The final protocol was more than a plan. It was a promise kept across millennia. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And now, the galaxy had a future.